What is the meaning of life? I mean, come on, it's the question, right? It's the one that's kept philosophers, poets, and probably you up at night. Well, today, we're not just going to ask it, we're going to take it apart piece by piece from the ground up. But here's the thing, to even begin to tackle the why, we've got to understand the how. So we're going to do a kind of cosmic zoom out, starting with the tiniest possible spark of existence and building our way up to us, right here, right now, asking this question. So let's rewind the clock, way back, like 4 billion years back. So our first stop on this grand tour, the primordial soup. And right away, we run into one of the biggest chicken and egg problems in all of science. Okay, so inside every single one of our cells, there's this total paradox. You've got DNA, which holds the blueprint for everything, but it can't do anything on its own. It needs proteins, the little machines that do all the work, to be built and read. But wait, here's the catch. The instructions to build those exact proteins, they're locked inside the DNA. So which came first, the instructions or the machine that reads them? It's a real head-scratcher. So what if neither came first? The leading idea, the RNA world hypothesis, suggests that there was this incredible molecule that could do both jobs. That molecule is RNA. Think of it as a jack of all trades. It could store genetic info, kind of like DNA, and it could act like a protein, getting things done. It was the chicken and the egg all rolled into one nifty package. Now, this theory sounds pretty neat, right? But it's not perfect, not by a long shot. Scientists have poked some pretty big holes in it. For starters, RNA is an incredibly complex molecule. How did it just appear? It's also really unstable. It breaks down easily. And honestly, its ability to get things done, to catalyze reactions, is pretty weak compared to what proteins can do. You know, the biochemist Eugene Koonin put it, well, pretty bluntly. He basically said that, yeah, the RNA world hypothesis has serious problems. But he followed that up by saying that all the other ideas are, and I quote, outright helpless. So it might not be a perfect theory, but for right now, it's the best story we have for how life's engine first sputtered to life. Okay, so we've got it. A self-replicating molecule. The basic mechanics are in place. But a chemical reaction, even a really complex one, isn't what we think of as life, is it? The really big jump, the mind-blowing leap, is from a system that just is to one that feels, one that has a point of view, a system that actually cares about staying alive. And that brings us to the next level of our cosmic zoom out. We're moving from pure chemistry to something deeper, the birth of the self. The question now is, when did the universe first start to experience itself? So the philosopher Hans Jonas had this incredible idea. He said that selfhood, the very first I, began with metabolism. Think about it. A rock is just a rock. It's static. But a living thing is constantly taking in stuff from the world and using it to rebuild itself. Jonas called this needful freedom. The organism is free because it's not just a fixed lump of matter, but it's also needy because it depends on the outside world to keep going. And right there, in that dynamic, you get the first separation between a self and everything else. And this, Jonas argued, this is where feeling comes from. In that tiny gap between needing something and getting it, a perspective is born. For the very first time, you have an inside and an outside, a me and a not me. As he puts it, the organism feels itself against the otherness without. Even for a simple bacterium, its own survival is a concern for it. And that's the huge difference between life and a machine, right? A river doesn't care that it flows. A computer doesn't care if you turn it off. But a living thing, just by the act of living, is taking a stand. It's pushing back against the universe. It is saying, I want to keep being. Okay, so let's zoom out one last time. To us. Because for human beings, this basic, needful freedom explodes into something way, way more complicated. And, honestly, a little terrifying. It becomes what we call the human condition. The famous existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre laid it all out for us. He said that for humans, existence precedes essence. What does that mean? Well, think of a paper knife. Someone designed it with a purpose, to cut paper before it was ever made. Sartre said we're the opposite. We're just thrown into existence first, like a blank canvas. Then it's up to us to define our own purpose, our own essence. This means we have absolute radical freedom. But there's a catch, a big one. We also have total responsibility. No excuses.
And that responsibility, that weight, creates what Sartre called anguish. It's so scary that a lot of us pretend we don't have a choice. We retreat into bad faith, telling ourselves, I had to do it.
And that leads to his most famous and maybe most chilling conclusion. We are thrown into this world burdened with this dizzying freedom to invent our own meaning. It's not optional. We are, as he said, condemned to be free. So if the universe doesn't hand us a meaning on a silver platter, what do we do? That sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it? But for thousands of years, humanity's response hasn't been despair. It's been creation. We've built these incredible systems of meaning for ourselves. Just look at the frameworks we've built to navigate this freedom. You have Kantianism, which says meaning comes from acting out of a sense of universal moral duty. You have Hinduism, which lays out 4 goals for a full life: pleasure, prosperity, righteousness, and eventually liberation. Or in Islam, where meaning is found through submission to God's will, with this life serving as a test for eternity. Each one is a different kind of compass, a different map for a world that didn't come with one. You know, I saw this quote on Reddit, of all places, and it just nails the difference. It perfectly captures the 2 roads you can take when you realize there's no built-in meaning. Nihilism looks at the empty canvas and says, "What's the point?" and walks away. Existentialism looks at the same empty canvas and says, "Well, what should we paint?" And really, that's the big takeaway from the existentialists, isn't it? The silence of the universe isn't an end. It's a starting gun. We're born into this darkness, sure, but we are the ones who can supply the light. The meaning of your life is your creation. But after all this deep, heavy philosophy, maybe the answer is a lot simpler. Monty Python and their classic film kind of boiled it all down to this. Maybe meaning isn't some grand cosmic revelation. Maybe it's just trying to be nice, reading a good book, and getting some exercise. Or, maybe as Douglas Adams famously wrote, we've been so obsessed with finding the answer that we forgot to figure out what the question really is. A giant supercomputer spends millions of years calculating the answer to life, the universe, and everything. The answer? 42. The only problem was nobody knew what the ultimate question was in the first place. And so that's what I want to leave you with. If we really are born without a pre-written purpose, if we really are condemned to be free, then maybe the meaning of life isn't a destination. It's not some answer you find at the end of a book. Maybe the entire point is to live the question every single day.